So we are in the Loon Sprint run review. This sprint spanned 3 weeks, starting on the 5th of June and ending today, the 23rd of June. So we'll get started on platform and get updates from Jordan and Ray.
Yeah, so for the most part, this sprint focused on a major copycat upgrade, which this upgrade addresses a lot of the architectural deficiencies I mentioned to the TST a while back. So that project is just about done. It should be in review this weekend, but it's probably going to be in review for a while it's being tested. Also spent a lot of time fixing various security issues. I won't mention what exactly they are here, but they should be released pretty soon. And then did some refactoring of the resource service API for to allow resources to be updated using transactions. And that's in review right now. And so for burn down, I feel like some of this stuff should have been in review a lot sooner, or well, like the resource service thing probably should have been merged by now. So that needed to be get in review a little sooner. And I'll have more on the copycat upgrade in my ISSU section.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. So a question I have here is, we're doing various builds to get the security fixes in, so 1.8.9 should be done. Do we have an update on whether that has been tested? Because I need to let the court folks.
I haven't gotten an update. Is John around?
Yeah, so I ran the test last night. I haven't taken a look at the results. Okay,
John, can you do that after this meeting and then give me an update? I need to get Andy started on 3.0.1 for Cord. Okay, thanks. And then let's go on to WebUI. Stephen?
Hey. So yeah, we completed a few tasks. So Simon worked on adding friendly host names to the hosts in the topology. So this now closely reflects the same functionality we have on devices where you can select a host, click on the host title, and that will take you to the host page where you can change the host's ID to a friendly name. And that will then be displayed on the classic topology. We added a few more tasks to port that same functionality over to topology 2, so that will start next sprint. We also fixed a bug which when you opened up a flow and it expanded, only the top portion of the row was clickable. Now the whole thing is clickable to toggle it on and off. The task that we started but didn't complete is adding a new build step for the minification of JavaScript and CSS. It's about 90% complete. The last thing left to do is fixing a few issues with Buck where it wasn't picking up changes in the web GUI source. So yeah, we just need to work with Brian and Vishwa, which I'm currently doing at the moment, and that should be ready to go at the start of next sprint.
Okay, thanks, Stephen.
Cool, thank you.
Simon?
Yeah, so localization brigade is spinning up. It didn't really have an official sprint, but I've done some preparatory work in basically creating a proof of concept on how to localize the UI. Very successful. As you can see, we've got Italian, Korean, and Chinese simplified versions of the cluster view. So we now know what the techniques are to be able to do this. The next steps basically is to go through each of the UI components to figure out where they get their text from and modify the code so that it is localizable, meaning that the text is retrieved from localization bundles. Once we have a default bundle in place, then community members can take and copy that default bundle for all the keys and then give it the appropriate suffix for their language and country, and provide translations for those things. I suspect that it's really, snowball down a hill. Once this gains momentum, we'll very quickly have the ONOS UI in multiple languages.
Okay, thanks, Simon.
Sure.
Deployment.
So still working on the fixed rate function for VBA with net configuration, because net configuration might push the interface and the VBA configuration in different order. So need to fix it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Packet optical.
So the main task here was we drastically simplified the logic in the connectivity compiler. In order to do that, it needs, of course, to be fed with the right data, and that's basically the next task. Well, issue that you see there, where the resource registration allowed us, if we're doing it smart, we were able to drastically simplify the compiler. Then I think that the Polaris driver was done actually last sprint, but only now got merged. Same for the LOXC. The only task we didn't really finish was the multi-layer design. We had some discussions. This is, by the way, just a design task, so no code got delayed. But so we had some discussions, but we had actually kind of trouble narrowing it down and designing something that will work for the things we wanted to do. So I think that's the only thing that did not get completed. So one confusing thing is on the breakdown, the burn down. So the multi-layer design is 5 points, and it hangs around, I don't know, 8 or 10 points. So I don't know what the extra task is.
I added. There's one for fixing the optical test.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not done.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know where to look. I couldn't find it.
Is the NTT engagement exact in another slide, or where was that update?
It doesn't live in particular places. Multiple places done in config. Some pieces live in
here, but there's at this point there was nothing for that.
Okay, I'm just wondering where would be the right place to kind of have a view of how that's going and where help is needed.
Okay. Yeah, we're not tracking that in a separate thing, more in among us.
Okay.
But yeah, we can do that. That's all from my side.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Virtualization. Claudine?
Hi, this is Claudine. I'm going to, Yunqian couldn't make it to the meetup, so I'm going to be presenting on his behalf. So for the virtualization brigade, what was done this sprint, we had some OF agent work that was completed. The OF agent is now able to handle various kinds of requests, such as the role requests, stats requests, etc. There was also work done in the virtual packet provider space, where there were tweaks made to the virtual packet context and default virtual packet provider code. Also, there were changes made to, as to when the packet processors were added and removed in the packet provider. Also introduced in this sprint was the balanced role command for virtual networks. And there were various minor bug fixes which have not been listed over here. Lots of changes are waiting to be merged. Two of these changes have to do with consistent stores, one for mastership and the other one for flow rule. Also, there's code pending for the revision of intent services, and also code for the creation of meter managers and the simplified stores. And there's one change regarding null pointer exception noticed in OF agent code. With regard to items in progress, definitely work on the virtual gateway skeleton and a lot more OF agent work. That's it from me.
Okay, thanks, Claudine.
You're welcome.
Dynamic configuration. Ihua?
Yes, hi. This is Iowa. I'm going to give you an update on the Dynamic Config Brigade activities. The Dynamic Config Brigade is ramping up very quickly after a successful demo and a relatively quiet period. But we have also done quite a few work in the last spring. So what we have done is for RESTconf, we have finished integrating with dynamic config and switched away from the original YMS. And we have made some dependency cleanup in this area. So right today, RESTconf is able to work with the new dynamic config services. There are also a bunch of bug fixes from the Young compiler and Young runtime. For example, we have made the fix for RPC conversion to data nodes that was found during some of our demos. And also URI parsing fix to deal with the special characters in URI, such as the backslash. And also identity ref encoding. So those are fixed and checked in. And also we implemented a draft version of the RPC dispatcher framework in dynamic config. And also on the Young live compiler, the base implementation is implemented, and we are still currently working on that. Yeah, it's in progress. What is currently in progress is we'll make RPC dispatcher improvements in the dynamic config as we have discussed last time. And also we are introducing the RESTconf RPC capability to deal with RPC requests coming from the northbound. There's also patch support for RESTconf in addition to all the get sets and post. I'm sorry, get, post, and delete. There's a patch support for RESTconf, which is in progress. And there are some small improvements in the dynamic config services in terms of ordering the data nodes in a natural and readable way, and also perform some performance improvements to consolidate the events generated because of node addition and deletion. And also there are some work already done in the OpenConfig validation of OpenConfig models, but there are some bugs found during this process with respect to Young tools. And we are fixing that as well. And last one is, we'll continue working on the Young live compiler in the next sprint.
Okay, thanks, Haiwa.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Northbound? Keith?
Okay, sorry. So I finished to improve the single table pipeline to support for case type of next objective for the new object compiler. And I think that Jordan is working on refactoring the resource service API. Is Jordan online?
Yeah, so that one's in review, and I think it should be merged really quickly here.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Jordan. gRPC, Aaron? I thought I saw him earlier. So the gRPC is doing their work week in South Korea. I think they're in the process of working through and getting the various services converted to protobuf definitions. Build and package. Do we have Vishwa or Zach? Okay, so we'll go through this real quick. It seems like, so 6127, 6134, surf models were obsoleted by protobuf, and then for protobuf buck support, Aaron has that covered in our gRPC support commits. And then support for legacy Yang plugin no longer needed with ONOS 6128. We'll go to P4 Brigade. Carmelo?
Yes, I'm here. The stories are there. In this sprint, we work mostly to implement core abstractions and services for project independence. We provide initial support for the general device provider and also for gRPC at the protocol level. We also updated scripts and commands to install and run P4 tools in Mirnet, so to widen the development process. And we also checked in some P4 code with example programs that we use in development. Regarding the stories in progress, the first one, ONOS 6604, this is a 5-point story, which is a work in progress by some of the brigade members. Here the problem is that we started late on the story because we had to synchronize with the brigade meetings. And the last one, the code is on Garrett and it's pending review. And this depends on a patch that affects also the gRPC brigade. So I'm waiting for their approval before merging that.
Okay. Thanks, Carmelo. And check out that burn down chart.
Okay.
It's a steady decline, so very good.
Yeah, okay, very good. Thank you.
ISSU. Jordan?
Yeah, so basically this sprint was focused on laying the foundation for a lot of ISSU work, and that mostly involved modifying cryo so we could use it for ISSU. So we implemented compatible cryo serialization, which is now disabled. It's probably going to be disabled through this release because it causes lots of big performance issues, as we saw in tests. And so yeah, that'll remain disabled, but also the same work was part of the copycat upgrade, which is updating copycat serialization to use cryo and compatible cryo serialization. So all that work should be done, considered done after the sprint, and then next sprint we'll start working on the actual ISSU.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. QA?
Sure. So we did a lot of work, I guess initially in making our test framework and our tests more accepting of slightly different user environments. So remove hard-coded username, password prompts, like default paths, things like that. And there's some work on fixing some of the tests that use that CFG API. Sometimes like we would check to see if the configuration was applied before it actually got applied. So sometimes our tests would be a little flaky. We also added a test which HA test that will continually like restart one node and then restart the next node, restart the next node. Very similar to the test that Sienna was doing. So that way we can hopefully in the lab find some of these issues that we were finding. Then the work that's still being done is refactoring how our tests interact with the ONOS cluster. So the idea is to make our tests easier to use and write And in terms of burn down, I think I initially underestimated the amount of work that our interns would do, so I kept having to add more stories, which is always a good thing, I guess. You go to the next slide. Some bug stats. This sprint, there were 28 bugs resolved and 37 created. These might be a little out of date since I did it this morning, and I think a lot of bugs got exposed after I did this. But there are 183 open bugs in the project, and two that I want to call out are somewhat related to HA. The first one is after node disconnect, sometimes some links go missing from the store. We think that might actually be related to the flow rule store. So if the LLDB flows are missing, links can disappear. And then the other one is a new bug that I think surfaced in 110, where sometimes if a node disconnects from the cluster, the entire cluster becomes unstable or unavailable. Hopefully the work that Jordan is doing will fix this, or at least mitigate it somewhat.
Okay, thanks, John. I guess from a priority standpoint for these bugs, I'm trying to understand kind of our actions and next steps with them.
Yeah. So the second one is somewhat new. I was trying to reproduce it this week and was having trouble with debug enabled. The first one we've been tracking for a while, but I don't think we've seriously taken a look at it.
Yeah, so the first one, yeah, has been around for a while, and I actually spent a day a couple sprints ago trying to figure it out. And it's easy to reproduce, and it's definitely a problem in the flow rule store, but I still wasn't able to figure it out. So more time than I spent on it needs to be allocated towards fixing it. And the second one, we'll have to try to reproduce it after the atomics upgrade and see if it's still a problem.
Okay, thanks, John and Jordan. No update on Lisp, and then there was an update on OpenStack. So it looks like Yunsun has updated to note that they're investigating how to improve the usability of OpenStack J, and that was done, and in progress support for Neutron Network admin state and port admin state. So on to Loon Sprint 2. Loon Sprint 2 is actually 4 weeks long, based upon just general timing. We wanted to allocate it to this sprint because we have July 4th coming up. And July 4th, I believe, we've got a couple days off. So this is 4 weeks, but you're looking at 3.5 weeks of workable days in the US. And then... So Sprint 2 planning will be on Monday at 3 p.m. I will be on PTO for the next couple weeks, so Thomas will be hosting that. I'll be closing the sprints in Jira after this meeting and create new ones for Monday's planning meeting. So after that, you guys can start adding stories. And then looking at new sprints that we'll need to add to Jira, I assume we'll need to add one for localization, one for SSU?
Yeah, I would agree that localization definitely need one.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that, yeah.
Okay.
Jordan, do you want to handle the ISSU as part of the core work, or do you want to have a separate sprint?
Separate sprint.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's all, unless anyone has questions, comments, or issues they want to bring up. Okay, if not, I think we're done for this review. Thanks, everyone.
Great, thank you. Nice job, everybody.
Bye.
See you later.